Fellas, AC here, welcome to another review. And today, I'm going to review a fragrance which is nothing short of creative brilliance. It's an incense-based fragrance, but this sort of perfumery is very, very rare, very few and far in between. This fragrance is called Two Man or Man 2 by Comme de Garcons. Now, Comme de Garcons is a house which creates unusual fragrances, just like Nasumato, yeah. And their fragrance. This house is based out of this is a Japanese house. I didn't know that. They're based out of Tokyo and Paris. But this house basically creates fragrances which challenges you. And this fragrance is one of those fragrances that sort of when you smell it, you think to yourself, "My God, is this an incense fragrance? Is this a woody citrus aromatic?" It's just one of those fragrances blows your mind away. It's just amazing. This fragrance was created by Mark Buxton, and I think this is Mark Buxton's best work. It's just so good that it just takes a creative genius to make a work like this, And I'm already praising this fragrance even before I've started reviewing it. So, how does it start off? It starts off very fizzy, like opening a Coke bottle. Very fizzy and very, very resinous, sort of balsamic, yeah, like a Coca-Cola would smell, literally, but not exactly like Coca-Cola, but a bit of Coca-Cola, yeah. So it's aldehydic, fizzy, and along with that there's a fruity tanginess, kumquat, and along with that there's a lot of freshness, nutmeg, yeah, very minty as well. And very spicy, minty, fizzy. That's how it starts. It's beautiful. It's absolutely amazing. And within a few minutes, I should say, incense takes hold. And this incense is like church incense. And the imagery that happens in my mind, because this is so beautiful, is imagine yourself standing in front of a beautiful Gothic church, right, with sun on it. You're just marveling the architecture because there are very few in the world that can do what this monument is doing, and you're just marveling the architecture. That's the imagery, that's the equivalent when it comes to the opening. Then you go into the church, and the church is basically, there's a Orthodox Christian ceremony going on, and there's a lot of incense, and that's what you smell. And it's just church incense with that fizzy, aldehydic, fruity, fleshy, fruity tanginess. It's beautiful. Outstanding. This opening is a killer. And every time you will read about this fragrance or talk about, people mention a couple of fragrances. One is Gucci Pouron. Yeah. Now Gucci Pouron does the same thing. It's basically incense with resinous, herbal tanginess. That's what Gucci Pouron it's one of my favorite fragrances. Unfortunately, I haven't got it at the moment. But there's another fragrance which is discussed, and this is this one here. So Bentley Absolute, I believe. Bentley Absolute is in the same family. So they are all distant cousins, if you like. Yeah? And I've reviewed this one. I'll leave a link to this review at the end of this video. So that's how the opening is. In the mid stages, the fragrance brings in the earthy elements and the grassy elements. So grassy element is what surprised me the most, because I pick a lot of vetiver. But this vetiver is not like Encre Noire. That's another fragrance people talk about. This fragrance is more like a synthetic vetiver, grassy quality, not sort of green grass, but dry grassy or dry-ish grassy. That's the vetiver. And along with that vetiver, there's this presence of a woody substance, structure, if you like, and ambery warmth. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And then comes this texture change. So it's fizzy at the moment, right? In the middle stages, the texture is almost like a satin cloth. Yeah, and they've used two notes here, saffron and iris. And saffron and iris are not something that you smell, but you experience. And I'll tell you another one. Here is the fragrance which gives you that experience. This has got saffron, and this has got iris. Iris here is soapy. This one has a little bit of soapiness in the middle stages, but it's more like the satin texture. Absolutely amazing. So it starts fizzy, goes satin, and then the late dry down is more earthy, woody, ambery, with incense still there. This fragrance is a journey. And in spite of it being compared to Gucci Pour and to Prada, I wouldn't say Prada. Prada's texture is like Prada, and Bentley Absolute. This is a different category altogether. It's probably one or two notches above. I wouldn't say it's higher than Gucci Pour, but it's the same sort of area. This will be a 50 years from now. People will be talking about this fragrance. It's such a masterpiece. The other thing is the fragrance. In its because of the use of kumquat and the way it's been used with it, and there's a slight hint of leather and vetiver. It reminds me of this fragrance as well. This is one of my absolute favorite fragrances, Acqua di Palma Colonia Intensa. So it's basically a combination of this in its dry down along with incense. It's masterful. So that's why it confuses people. Is this a chypre? Is this a woody chypre? Is this a incense with citrus aromatic? Your brain is going to be in overdrive, and that's the quality of a masterpiece of a fragrance. It makes you think, and every time, depending on the weather and the time of the day, you come across this and say, my God, what am I wearing? That's why it's such an amazing fragrance. So upsides and downsides. Number one upside, this is a creative brilliance. This is Mark Buxton's number one fragrance. It will always be number one. You just can't replace this, right? Number two, this fragrance is so soothing, peaceful, and calm that when you're going to go for a stressful interview or a meeting, or you're going through stress in your life, that's when you wear this. This has this piece of, as I said, it reminds you of church and service and mass. It's very peaceful. There's something very divine and deep about this fragrance, and I really like that aspect. Number three is the complexity of the fragrance. I told you the journey. It's a beautiful journey. It's a complex fragrance. The journey is amazing. And number four for me is value for money. See, Comme des Garcons is a niche house. They make fragrances which are priced like high-end designers. This 50 ml will cost you about £50. So £1 an ml. 100 ml will cost you about £90. So the money you're paying and the stuff you're getting don't match up. This is very high value for money. Yeah. Now the downsides. Number one downside is the performance. The fragrance is basically a skin scent in about 2 hours time, and it doesn't project a lot and remains a skin scent and disappears from your skin depending on the number of sprays in about 5 or 6 hours, maybe 7. For me, on my skin, some days it gives me a longevity of about 10 hours and keeps on projecting. Some days it doesn't. So it's a very moody kind of a fragrance. That's the number one. Number two, most people or some people don't like church incense. Incense here is church incense. End of. If you do not like religious kind of smell, forget it. This is very religious, very, very spiritual. This is an amazing fragrance. For me, I love such fragrances. So those are two downsides. A compliment factor, I think this is very attractive and mysterious. The whole thing about this fragrance is the evocative sexual nature of the fragrance, because spirituality and sexuality are correlated. They're related very closely. And there's mysteriousness of this fragrance. So the immediate thought for me was Jim Morrison and his work, and I think that sort of presence, the sort of slightly haunting and yet mysterious and very sexual presence of somebody is what this fragrance is. This is spiritual, sexual, mysterious, and just amazing, really. Very, very charismatic. So it's for those people. It's not for everybody. So age groups, I would say it's a 30 plus fragrance, and that too for people who resonate with that kind of personality. This is very deep fragrance, very meaningful, right? It's not for people who are looking to get laid when they wear a fragrance. It's for people who really understand the art of perfumery. It will resonate with them. Seasons. This is the right season to wear it. Church incense is always nice to wear in cold weather. When the whole climate around you is really cold and dark and dull, that's when you bring this out. My God, this has got so much warmth, so much depth. It's just beautiful. I just love it. So I think I've covered all aspects, including value for money. If you're a collector, if you're a real connoisseur, this is a must-have fragrance in your collection. So marks out of 10. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. The only reason I'm taking 1 mark out is because of the average performance. But in somebody else's book, this would be a 10 out of 10. The creative brilliance of this fragrance is unmatched. This is an amazing fragrance. 9 out of 10. Hope you enjoy the review, fellas. Take care. Bye-bye.